Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. We have a new guest and a new episode type, everybody. Today's episode is a coffee chat. And, on the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast, we talk coffee, we talk health, we talk science. But we want to branch out a little bit and just really interview some people who are really interesting. It'll often relate to health and fitness, but not always. And you guys can sit down and enjoy your coffee and listen to us chat. So today's episode is the inaugural coffee chat, and I am speaking to someone who I've worked with on a number of projects, truly one of the most interesting people that I've had the pleasure of podcasting with for hours on end, really. Lion Goodman is on the line. How you doing, Lion?
I am great, Jordan. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, fantastic, man, having you on all these different shows. Listen, for the audience, Lion Goodman is a belief expert, specifically limiting beliefs, and you've probably heard that term. I've seen it really take hold and kind of blow up in the personal development sphere and beyond. Lion, I even saw an interview with a UFC fighter who was being interviewed after his thing, and the other guy goes, he said that you can't do this and you can't do that, and the guy responds, well, that's his limiting belief. And I go, oh my God, do you feel that this is kind of blowing up and becoming popular culture?
Well, yes, because it's so true. I mean, when we look at what stops us, what prevents us from accomplishing and doing what we want, what can you find other than limiting beliefs? They are everywhere. So it doesn't take a lot of investigation to understand that's what we need to focus on.
No, that's a good point. Everybody has experienced this, literally. And that's why it applies to so many people, and so many people are interested in it. So let's start with level one, man, real base view here. What are beliefs? How would you define them? And how do they kind of shape our worlds?
I'm a little bit different than most people, because when most people talk about beliefs, they're talking about a mental construct that they have a commitment to. Like, I believe this political party ought to be in office, or I believe that political party ought to be in office, or I believe in God, or I don't believe in God. So these are mental constructs that people have a commitment to. Mm-hmm. And beliefs do describe that. But when I talk about beliefs, I'm talking about something much deeper. I'm talking about the infrastructure of the human mind. What is our mind made of? What is our experience made of? Well, through all kinds of scientific research, we've seen that there is a patterning instinct to every human being. Babies, even in the womb, are beginning to identify patterns, and they certainly identify patterns when they come out of the womb. And this is what the brain does, is it looks for patterns and it tries to figure out how they relate to survival. And sometimes just how do they relate to pleasure. When my baby was born, she was just hours old, and I was holding her in my arms, and she was looking up at the wall, and the sun was coming through some Venetian blinds and making this pattern of light and dark, and she was looking at it kind of with wonder, and I went, wow, she's hours old and she's already seeing patterns. So this pattern identification is built into the brain, and we need it for survival, because if we see this same pattern over and over again, this pattern of a face and a sound might mean I'm going to get taken care of. That face and that sound might mean I'm going to be abandoned or I'm going to be harmed. So it's absolutely instinctual. And when I talk about beliefs, I'm talking about that level of the psyche. How is our psyche constructed, and with what? And this is what I call beliefs. There's lots of names for it. People call it maps of meaning, or patterns, or archetypes, or there's lots of names, but it all points to the same infrastructure.
Beliefs. Okay. How are our beliefs formed generally?
Well, remember that we are constantly looking for these patterns. And when you are born, you are completely vulnerable, and you only survive if someone takes care of you. So what does a baby do? Well, it begins to look for the patterns that will help it survive. So, for example, it may cry and make a fuss, and then it suddenly gets taken care of. And it does that a couple of times, and it's trying out lots of different behaviors, sort of at random, and then one particular behavior starts working. Okay, well, I'll cry and make a fuss every time I need something, and then suddenly I'm being taken care of. Now, that really works well when you've got a caring parent. If it doesn't work well, if you cry and something happens sometimes and it doesn't other times, you kind of get this feeling of anxiety, and you start trying lots of different things until you figure out what works. So this belief, we could call it an experiential conclusion, but easier to say belief. This belief comes into the child, which is if I cry and make a fuss, I will be taken care of. Now, that's a really good belief for a baby, right? They've figured out how to survive. Unfortunately, some people never give up that belief, and a lot of us know adults who are still crying and making fusses to get their needs cared for.
Right.
Right. So beliefs don't automatically expire. They ought to come with an expiration date, like meat at the meat counter, but they don't. They just get shoved into the subconscious mind, and the old patterns stay there, and they jump up and grab us from time to time when we're in danger or upset or stress, and they kind of take over. So this is where limiting beliefs come from. It's an old belief that has jumped up and grabbed us and takes us down with it.
So they start really, really young, even before birth. Your mind is kind of working to put things together. And then I'd imagine the more conscious you become as a young child and things, when you can kind of understand what people are saying to you, I'd imagine that, things like your parents telling you their beliefs, that probably plays a pretty big role.
Absolutely. That's, we say that indoctrination is the place we get most of beliefs, but indoctrination just means a doctrine, which means is a belief, is going in. So children are anxious to know what their parents believe because that is their key to survival. If I become like my parents, they will like me, and they are less likely to throw me out to the wolves or flush me down the toilet. Right? So we want to acquire our parents' beliefs. We eagerly acquire them, and our mind is on record mode for about the first 4 to 6 years. So we take it all in as that's just what's so. And unfortunately, it isn't so often. So we pick up a lot of crappy beliefs along with the really good ones. Like, there's some beliefs that are really good, like look both ways before you cross the street. Like, that's a good belief for everybody. Okay, we shouldn't go cross the street without looking. But a belief like you're a piece of crap that your parents said to you over and over again, that's not a very good belief to be carrying around.
Yeah, that's not going to serve you.
That's right. We need to get rid of that kind of belief.
Oh, and I want to dive into that. First, though, how do you relate beliefs to health and fitness?
Well, your health is how you behave toward yourself, isn't it? I mean, how well are you caring for yourself? And self-care is part of the system of beliefs. Like, do I deserve to be cared for?
Yes.
If you believe that you don't deserve to be cared for, you're not going to care for yourself, and you're not going to be very healthy. So it's a direct relationship of what do you deserve, and how should you care for yourself? Where is your attention, and is it on yourself and your own health and fitness?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I've spoken to you about this on our other shows, working with the personal development company Lifebook. For a while, I was really interested in what is the most important thing in life. What's the most important thing for success, happiness, eudaimonia? What's the most important thing? And it was really kicking around in my head for a long time. And I was toying with things like discipline. I saw people who had discipline were really, they really excelled, or, wisdom, things like this. And when it really boils down lower and lower and distills and distills and distills, eventually you seem to always get to self-love. Because if you don't love yourself, then it's not worth becoming disciplined. It's not worth improving yourself. It's not worth being happy ever if you don't care for yourself on some level. And I think that is in the exact same vein as what you're saying, which is that is a belief. Do you deserve to be loved, for instance? Or I love you is almost a belief. You are lovable. That's a belief.
Absolutely. And we pick this up from our parents, right? If our parents really love us, if they look at us and they go, I am so happy you're here. I really love you. I'm going to be here and protect you and teach you and care for you until you can care for yourself. And one day you'll be able to walk, and you'll be able to talk, and you'll be able to do the things that your mother and father and your brothers and sisters can do. But right now, all you need to do is just relax and play and be yourself. And I'm going to be here for you because you deserve to be loved. That gives you a sense of self-identity, because babies find their identity in the eyes of the people looking at them.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if the parents are neglectful or are abandoning, there's a deep core wound. It's like, the babies make it about themselves. I'm not being cared for. therefore there must be something wrong with me. And that's where shame comes in, and the lack of self-care. I don't deserve it.
Yeah, if only all parents would do that. Or, anyone listening, go ahead and you feel free to use that recording, the whole spiel that Lion just did about you're worthy of this. Or just hit play and hold it up to your kid's face.
Yes. Yes, we do need to learn how to give each other that kind of message, whether you're in a relationship with another person, whether you're by yourself, whether you have children or parents. That is the message we all need to hear. We've needed to hear it from the time we were babies, and we still need to hear it. We never outgrow that need.
No, you're absolutely right. I kid, but you're so right, man. And I think that's why it's so important to, first of all, establish those things like family foundation where it does build those, but also just to understand beliefs, understand how this stuff is shaped, understand whatever your situation is, understand how it works, that you can fix it. That gives you tools, that makes you not helpless, right?
Absolutely. That's being able to change your beliefs is the most powerful leverage for your life.
Oh, I love that. When it comes to limiting beliefs, that's the hot topic, is these beliefs that hold you back. How do we know that we've kind of come up against one?
Well, it's pretty easy. If you can't move forward, you've got a limiting belief. Okay, so one way to tell whether you've got a limiting belief is to choose to do something, decide to do something, and then do it. And then watch your mind and see what comes up. I'll give you an example. I'm going to lose 10 pounds this month, right? You make a commitment to that. And immediately what you hear are the inner voices, which represent old beliefs. And they come up in your own voice, even though they might have started as someone else's voice. And they start talking to you. Oh, come on, you've never lost 10 pounds in 1 month.
Right.
You'll never stick to a diet. Hey, you can't start the diet until you eat that chocolate cake in the refrigerator. And besides, we're going to a wedding in 2 weeks. You can't be on a diet during a wedding. Why don't you just wait a month? Maybe never. That would be a good time to do it, and never. So these are all old beliefs that are jumping up and reasserting themselves because you've made a commitment to something that is opposite to them, is in conflict with them. So you can actually sit down and document these and recognize which negative beliefs you have by just doing that exercise. Okay, I'm going to start a business. Oh, here comes the voices. Here come the beliefs. Oh, you'll never make it. It's hard. There aren't enough customers. Nobody wants to hear from you. Or an exercise program. I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock every morning and do a half an hour of exercise. I don't wanna.
Right.
These are parts of us that are still alive in our subconscious mind, and they jump up and stop us. Now, the sad truth is that most people are stopped not by the external circumstances, but by these internal voices and limiting and negative beliefs.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So what work is this the work that you do, removing those beliefs with your Clear Your Beliefs program?
Yes, I teach people how to get down to the core of the belief rather than just kind of massaging them at the outside edges, which a lot of techniques do. We go down into the subconscious mind, communicate with it directly, and clear the belief completely at that level of the subconscious. And that's what makes my belief clearing process different than a lot of others. There's processes like EFT where you try to tap it away. Well, that's good for clearing the energy, but it doesn't necessarily clear the belief at the core of the psyche. Or mental processes like, well, just recognize the belief's not true. That's good mentally and verbally, but it doesn't get to the emotional level or the physical level of the belief. So my process is multidimensional and multisensory because experience and beliefs are multidimensional and multisensory, and that's what you need to really clear them.
I love that. And I'm a big fan of your methods. I think that it's also just different strokes for different folks, right? Certain techniques seem to really stick with people.
Well, everything works a little bit for some people.
Right.
I've just experienced so many people saying, hey, I tried this for 3 years and it never really stuck.
Right.
And I'm saying, well, if you tried it for 3 years, no matter what it was,
must not have been that effective.
It's not your problem. It's the practice's problem. It's the problem of the technology.
I'll tell you, man. I collaborated with you for a reason. Your methods are great, and I think that it's also like, what's the severity of your belief? I think that most people have at least a few beliefs that they could really use professional help with, like some can be thrown out, right? You recognize it. Oh, that's silly. But other ones, man, they're in there deep. they've clawed in you from childhood, right?
Exactly. We've shoved a lot of old beliefs down into the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and it really takes help to get it out of there because we're blind to it, so we can't see our own blind spots. It takes somebody a little bit more objective.
Mm-hmm. If limiting beliefs are what we're trying to, rid ourselves of, what do you like to see it replaced with?
Good question. So if you think about building a garden, right, you'd want to plant some flowers and some vegetables. You don't take your seeds and you throw them on rocky, weedy ground. You're not going to get much activity that way.
Right.
But if you take the time to clear the rocks and pull out the weeds and turn over the soil, then when you plant your seeds, you'll get what you wanted to grow. You'll get a harvest of flowers and vegetables. And beliefs are no different. You have to clear the negative beliefs first. And then when you plant a positive belief, it can grow unencumbered. So
I love that.
The process that I teach is clear all the negative and limiting beliefs surrounding a particular subject first, and then decide what you want to believe. What experience do you want to have? Because our experiences in the world are the fruits of our consciousness. So I don't tell people what to believe. I don't believe in telling people what to believe. I believe in giving people the empowered freedom to choose what they want to believe. And so I don't make recommendations. I help people shape the belief they want. And every belief will create a particular experience. Here, I'll give your audience a way of understanding that. So take a moment, close your eyes, and feel what it feels like to hold the belief, there's something wrong with me. Just feel what it feels like to hold that belief. Feel your body, feel your urges, feel where your attention goes when you believe it as if it's 100% true.
Sensational.
And what are you noticing?
Lots of sensations, actually. It's funny how just thinking certain words can kind of instill almost a chemical reaction, like a panic reaction.
Mm-hmm. Right. Most people feel by the way, you can just take that belief off and throw it aside now. You don't need it anymore. Most people feel a kind of collapsing around their chest, or they feel pulled back, or like hiding, or there's a lot of different things that people feel. But this shows that a belief will create an experience. So let's try a different one just for contrast. Feel what it feels like to hold the belief, I am a sacred and worthy being.
Much more energizing.
Yeah. Much more uplifting for most people. They feel bright and shiny and free and open. So that shows you that our beliefs create our experiences. So the question is, what do you want to experience, and what belief would create that experience? So if you want success, what beliefs would create success? If you want a healthy body, what beliefs would create a healthy body? What would you need to believe in order to have the motivation and the desire to get up at 6 in the morning and go exercise for half an hour every day? So that's how we work it, as we ask people what they want to achieve, clear what's in the way, and then plant the new belief that gets them there.
I love that. What general advice do you have here before we sign off when it comes to just having a healthier relationship with foundational beliefs in general, other than checking out your program, Clear Your Beliefs? What general advice do you have for the listener?
My best advice is to carry around a little notebook or your phone, page on your phone, and write down every belief you hear inside your head.
Oh, I love that.
That is negative or limiting. No matter what you're doing, you're in the middle of a conversation, something makes you feel weird, and you look down and go, what belief was that? Oh, yeah, that belief is people don't like me. Write it down. And then take that list and start clearing them one by one. That's something everybody can do. In my free ebook called Clear Your Beliefs, I give an exercise like this called Belief Self-Diagnosis, and I'm happy to give that to your listeners so they can start in that process.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Where can they find you? Where can they find the ebook?
They can go to clearyourbeliefs.com and look at the tabs and find, register for the free ebook, and they'll get it in the email right away.
Fantastic. This flew by. I'm sure the listeners will want to hear more. So why don't you come back for another coffee chat and we'll dig into some specifics. We'll go a layer deeper. Does that sound good?
I would be delighted. It's good to share a cup of coffee with you.
Absolutely. Everybody listening, thank you so much. Make sure you're subscribed, give the show a rating and review. Check out Lion's program at Clear Your Beliefs. And please tell a friend about the show. I always appreciate that. This is Jordan River and Lion Goodman signing off, saying have an extraordinary day.